and certainly I support it. I do think democracy's on the line, and I think there's a reason that Democrats have outperformed all these polls since the Dobbs decision by 6 to 8 points. And there's a lot to campaign on from both sides. As Steve said, there's a real debate to be had on the economy and, where taxes should go and how corporate should be treated versus individuals and hardworking Americans. And I think it's worth having that debate. I also think that we are starting to see inflation come down. It's off by 2/3. We need to continue to see it to come down. But today's numbers that showed cooling inflation was a good thing. And my guess is Steve and I agree that the Fed should not be cutting rates today, nor in September, because the labor market and the consumer sentiment's still strong out there.
For every Fox guest that goes rogue and offers a semblance of sanity, there's a host waiting in the wings to try to bring things back to their standard.
Now, here's the twist to this. There are a number of states who tried to intervene in this case. They wanted to be parties to the case. The court did not allow that to happen. Those states have said if this case went the way that many of us thought it would, they don't get past the standing issue and don't get to the merits of the case. Those states say they are now standing by ready to file their own challenges to the way that the FDA has regulated mifepristone. So this case is over. The doctors didn't have standing. Access remains for the drug. But now watch for three of these states to say that they are going to now file their own legal challenges and try to prove they do have standing to actually get to the merits of how the case has been handled. The drug has been handled by the FDA.
Call that a boomerang case then, Shannon, because it could be coming back, all right? Stand by in case there's more coming up momentarily, Shannon. Thanks for that.
And for more on all of this and much more is former White House senior advisor and Fox News contributor Kellyanne Conway. I mean, you've seen, Kellyanne, you're no stranger to this. The Democrats are trying to make abortion the front and center issue of their campaign and their policies. Will this Supreme Court decision at least take one part of that off the table?
No, because I think they'll look at it as an opportunity to triple down on that messaging.
Ever since the Dobbs decision, this issue has hurt Trump and other MAGA Republicans because when you take away women's choice over their own bodies, healthcare decisions, then they might get upset. The fact is that after reversing Roe v. Wade, the opposite has happened, that Justice Kavanaugh wanted. Oh, let's just get the courts out of this and leave this to the states. In fact, now so much is being litigated because of the chaos the Supreme Court created by overturning this long-standing healthcare right that women have over their own bodies. The Supreme Court did just allow the continued use of the abortion pill, but not by deciding on the merits, by deciding on a procedural ground, saying that the plaintiff didn't have standing. Their next big case that we have not heard about yet has to do with the Idaho Federal Emergency Act, basically saying if a woman comes to a hospital and needs life-saving care or critically injured and needs an abortion in order to save an organ or something like that, Idaho right now is air vacuuming these women out of Idaho because the doctors are afraid to perform an abortion in violation of state law.
One of these, this just stuck with me here. This woman you spoke with, health law and policy professor, says pregnant patients have, quote, become radioactive to emergency departments, unquote, in states with extreme abortion restrictions. They're so scared of a pregnant patient that the emergency medicine staff won't even look. They just want these people gone. That's how urgent it is for women and how concerned hospitals are in these states about the potential legal risk.
Yeah, and what we found, we were able to get back some federal records, complaints, pregnancy-related complaints against hospitals, is that the severity and the number of complaints really went up after states started enacting these abortion bans. And we found cases where medical staff wouldn't look at these pregnant patients when they walked in. They were asking for help and they were turned away and told to drive elsewhere in some cases. But what we do know is that there was a lot of confusion swirling for doctors once these abortion bans were enacted, and that there continues to be some confusion and difficulties in treating these patients when they do present at ERs. Some of the doctors in Idaho have said that they've had to actually airlift patients out of the state to get care because of a new abortion ban that started in January. They've had several instances of that.
This is the reality of women in America. This is why this issue is hurting Trump. This is why it is hurting in elections everywhere. And it's certainly hurting polling, because women want to be able to, even if they're pregnant, be able to go to the hospital and save an organ and not be air vac'd out of the hospital. And the Supreme Court is still in the process of deciding whether or not those doctors in Idaho can actually give the abortion to save an organ rather than air vac the hospital. This is something under consideration. This is the state of America.
Abortion, IVF, playing a role. Democrat running on abortion and IVF access wins the special election in Alabama. Marilyn Lands flipped a state house seat in the deep red state by 25 percentage points, underscoring the continued political potency of reproductive rights. Don't know if that's a canary in the coal mine, but it is interesting in Alabama. If you look at our poll, Katie, best describes the issues view on abortion, always legal, 35%, mostly legal, 24%. There you see the breakdown.
And Donald Trump himself is not backing down. He won in 2016, promising to do exactly what happened and reverse Roe and take away women's autonomy and rights and healthcare choices over their body. And he saying now that states, if they want, should be able to prosecute women for having an abortion. Yes, criminally prosecute them for making healthcare and really, really difficult personal choices. Prosecute them. And it should be up to the states, according to Trump, to monitor women's pregnancies. Yes, state monitoring.
Tonight, Donald Trump says he won't stand in the way if states want to monitor pregnant women to make sure they comply with abortion bans. And he won't step in to prevent states from prosecuting women who violate those bans by ending their pregnancies. In an interview with Time magazine, Trump was asked, do you think states should monitor women's pregnancies so they can know if they've gotten an abortion after the ban? Trump saying, I think they might do that. Again, you'll have to speak to the individual states. Trump then asked if he'd be comfortable if states prosecute women who get abortions. His response, it's irrelevant whether I'm comfortable or not. It's totally irrelevant because the states are going to make those decisions. In the 2016 campaign, Trump said women who have abortions should be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
He quickly backtracked. As president, he appointed 3 of the justices who overturned Roe v. Wade, something he continues to brag about.
We broke Roe v. Wade, and we did something that nobody thought was possible. We gave it back to the states, and the states are working very brilliantly.
This was the party that used to believe in limited government, being okay with a government monitoring a woman's pregnancy. This is what Donald Trump is saying. This is what's being reflected in the polls. And this is what women and people who care about women are being outraged about.
Florida's 6-week abortion ban is poised to go into effect 1 week from tomorrow. And Florida voters are gearing up for a November ballot measure that would enshrine abortion rights in its constitution. If you take a step back and look at these maps, you will note a striking similarity between states Trump carried in 2020 and states where abortion is banned and or unavailable. But poll after poll and election after election since the Roe decision has shown that regardless of how the states voted in the past, abortion is a losing issue for Trump. NBC's latest poll finds Biden leading by a 15-point margin on which candidate would be better on this issue.
The fact is, the reason why so many people are upset about Dobbs' decision isn't because people want to have abortions. They want to be able to have choice and autonomy in this very personal life decision. And we know that the opposite is the reason Republicans wanted to take it away, not because that they are pro-life, but they are against pro-choice. We see this because now there is this whole argument about whether or not contraception should be allowed and whether or not IVF should be allowed.
Here's the beauty of this place. We talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, and then we vote. And there is one opportunity and one opportunity only to enshrine the right to IVF in federal statutory law. I don't care what you tweeted. I don't care what you said on cable news. I don't care what the memo from the campaign arm of the Republican National Committee says, in a few minutes, we will know the official position of the Republican conference on IVF. And the Susan B. Anthony list and the MAGA court and these extreme forces in our society are going to show that the Republican Party is not for IVF. I wish it were different. I wish we could pass this law. But the beauty of the Senate floor is everybody will be on the record by the end of the afternoon.
On this vote, the yeas are 48, the nays are 47. 3/5 of the senators duly chosen and sworn not having voted in the affirmative, the motion is not agreed to.
I can think of no other pro-life choice other than IVF, something that people undertake in last resorts because they so desperately want to create a family. The Southern Baptist Convention, a major player in the Republican Party, has just voted against IVF. So wait and see how that gets translated into regulations. And if the Republican Party really cared so much about life, why aren't they asking the partner, the husband, to start having to pay child support the moment of conception? Why are there not laws already saying, hey, if you can't have an abortion at 6 weeks, child support should start to be paid at 6 weeks? You hear crickets because it's not so much about supporting the woman and supporting the fetus. It's about taking away a woman's choice because you think you can make a better decision than her.
Enough! Send him to the big house, not the White House. Get the new exclusive tees, mugs, and stickers right now at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.